You're listening to the Write Project podcast and radio program, a show about writing and modern Newfoundland author culture. This program is produced and recorded at CHMR FM 93.5 FM in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, and is aired on other great stations in the province and elsewhere in the country. It can also be heard online at www.chmr.ca. I'm your host, Matthew LeDrew. Okay, well, we're here on a special episode of the Write Project podcast because we have not only an accomplished writer, but an editor, the editor-in-chief of Engen Books, Erin Vance.
It's me.
Okay, yes, it is the very silly... That's amazing. It is the very, very silly Erin Vance, who has written several short stories and also works of poetry published in textbooks in an anthology, and she's also edited over 20 novels currently. 20 books.
Well, 20 books because a few of them are anthologies.
Yes.
So.
Thank you for coming, Erin.
You're very welcome, Matthew. I see you finally grabbed me and kidnapped me.
Yes. You are kidnapped.
Yeah, you threatened me a while ago. You were like, months ago, you were like, I'm going to get you on the show. And I went, cool. It's finally happened.
You're finally here. Okay.
It's a beautiful studio.
It is. It's lovely.
Yeah.
The skylights, especially, great.
I'm really proud of the skylights.
Yes.
For your sake.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. What are you working on currently?
I'm working on Allie House's second book, The Fifth Queen.
Okay, how's that shaping up?
It is shaping up well. I'm enjoying it. I wasn't sure if it was going to measure up to The Sixth Elemental because I really enjoyed editing and reading that one, but I'm enjoying it. It's solid. And it's a nice change from the werewolf one. Because the last one I did was Brad Dunn's.
How'd you find that? That one just came out.
It did just come out. You know what? It was very well written. It's a good book.
It is.
It is a solid book. I just did not like the main character, but a couple of Brad's lines were like A+. Like the way he describes that one girl in the scene in the mall.
Yeah.
Where I think he said something about she looked high maintenance or something. Like the way he described her. He never actually described her at all, but I knew exactly what she looked like.
Yeah. Describes how she made him feel. Yeah, that's very interesting. I really liked his book. I like literary horror, but then you're not a horror fan.
I'm not at all, which is remarkable considering...
Most of your editing work has been for horror, crime.
He wrote A+ female characters, though. I have to say, Julie, is that the girlfriend's name? It's been a few months, you're going to have to forgive me. She was excellent.
Yeah.
It was like, at some points in the book, it was like he was in my head.
Oh, wow.
Like the whole thing about her wanting to go be something, but she didn't think she could write, but she wanted to write. And her whole view of school, I was like, that's me. Oh my gosh, it's me.
Cool. You've got a bunch of books coming up on the horizon that you're editing. You're also writing. You're almost done your first novel, which we will have to find an editor for.
Hopefully the typos will be minimal.
Yes. Hopefully.
Hopefully. They'll just be like, you know what? Half the plot needs to go. And I'll be like, but my baby.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll see what it's like.
I will. I'll cry a lot.
We had a fun meeting a while back. I handed in my latest book, and you said, this is the worst. Don't ever show it to anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was fun.
It was.
And now I'm not showing it to anyone, and we're moving on.
Yeah, I'm really glad. Yeah, that was, what was it I think I said? I think you had 3 plots going, and I said a third of each plot works. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, so a third of the book works, so the rest of it, and it was like, no. A third of each plot works. Yeah, that was not my finest hour.
No, I mean, a solid C for effort.
Actually, the newest book that you will edit, or you have already edited, but it's coming out next month, it's available for pre-order now, is Family Values.
Oh, yeah!
Yep. I never get to talk about my own stuff on this show. I wrote Family Values. It's the 4th book in the Xander Drew series. Mm-hmm. So it might be fun to, because I'm always the interviewer, and I never get to talk about my own stuff, but you're involved in that as well. You're the editor. So what did you think of that? What can people expect?
They can expect excellent female characters. I gotta say, you did them very well. They can expect a pretty scary plot.
Yeah, this one actually bothered you a bit.
There was a couple bothering parts. I don't know if it's the Christian in me that was bothered or just that I don't like horror, but there were some aspects where I was like, that was scary, dude. Don't do that, man.
But you powered through.
I powered through. I do that. What can they expect from that book? That was months ago, dude. How good is my memory? They can expect children.
Yeah, there was, it deals with kidnapping.
It does deal with kidnapping. I'm trying to be nice. I'm going to be nice. Because I do like your writing. I want to see how many people figure out the twist and the mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I did.
Yes, but you're very intelligent.
That may be true, but I usually don't figure out the twists in your mysteries.
Oh.
Yeah, I usually aren't like, my dudes, think.
I like it either way. I like it even if people figure it out beforehand. I still like that it's there.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
There's a character you have in it who, in my head, he's the Artful Dodger, so they can expect that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I don't know how, the way you described him, I was like, oh yes, the
That
Artful
Duncan?
Dodger from, no, one of the kids.
Oh, okay,
Who
yeah.
smokes.
Oh, okay.
He's, like, I saw him and I was like, oh yes, it's the Artful Dodger from that Oliver Twist movie that I watched.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's probably a source of inspiration.
Probably, yeah.
Somewhere down the line from my youth, yeah.
And Xander Drew being his excellent, angry, moody self.
He is I like when he's angry. I like him better in this series than his previous one. I enjoyed him when he was in his youth, and because I was younger, but I like how indignant he gets.
I'm biased, as I was introduced to Xander Drew through the Xander Drew series.
Yes, it was your first book with Cinders.
Yes, it was the first book I ever edited for you, actually. Yeah. And I was like, this guy isn't completely awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not nearly as obnoxious as I originally believed. He writes a good book.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the character. We were talking about me. Okay.
No, yeah, that was you. No, and Xander, I like him as, I don't know how old he is, but in my head I'm like, yes, you are an angry college kid.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
I left his age ambiguous because I left the time frame between the book series ambiguous. Partly because, looking back, it was very constraining to have him pinned down to a certain age, especially a young age, because then you have to have them act a certain way. When you leave it more ambiguous, it gives you more room, and it doesn't seem crazy.
Also, teenagers, like, their mindset, I think, for teenagers is there's a mentality you have to capture that's really hard to capture as an adult.
Yeah.
But once they hit a certain point of maturity, you can kind of, like, it doesn't really matter how old they are. They could be 20. They could be 25. They're about the same.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's very fair, actually. And I think aging him was a necessity, as I wrote him as a teen when I was a teen, or very early 20s, and could remember what that was like. I think I would have a very hard time doing that now.
Yeah, I can't imagine doing that.
No, yeah, I think it'd be very difficult to write teen. What I find with the early books that makes me pull out my hair is that they're supposed to be set like the Marvel books. They're supposed to be set any year, like it's supposed to be like year one, kind of like the way it's Batman year one or Spider-Man year one. But the technology doesn't fit because I wrote it before cell phones were prominent. So only in the later books do the teens get cell phones. To me, that's the most unrealistic thing looking back on the Black Womb books. Isn't the monsters or the demons or anything like that or the crime. It's that none of them have a cell phone.
Isn't there like a cell dead area or like service dead areas in the US? Couldn't you argue that due to the circumstances in the verse that I have been hinted that they're living in like a low service area?
That is fair, and there actually is a cell dead area in Maine where that would be. That is the central point of the book by Stephen King, Cell. The book Cell, like that's based on, the book Cell is based on a virus that's transmitted via cell phones that turns everyone into zombies. It's a zombie apocalypse movie where the start of the apocalypse is brought on by a signal sent through cell phones that hacks people's brains and turns them into rage zombies. You'd like it.
No.
No.
No, I would not.
No.
Did zombies and I was like, and done.
Yep. Yep.
But no, it was a good book. You write a good book.
Thank you.
You're
You
welcome.
also are a good writer. I enjoy reading your work very well.
No,
No, I always look forward to it.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I always try to be funnier than I actually am, but
You're very funny.
okay.
Yeah. So how did you get started with... Well, first of all, let's talk about the act of being an editor, because I think we've mentioned before that you always wanted to be an editor. You actually told me once you dreamed of being the editor-in-chief of a little company, and you are.
I said that?
You did once.
Really?
Yeah.
Are we sure I wasn't being sarcastic and we didn't know each other well enough for you to tell that?
This was 2 weeks ago.
That was a lie.
No, it's not.
Totally don't remember this.
Okay.
I don't remember when I decided I want to be an editor. I realized probably about junior high that I wanted to do something with words, and writing is never been super easy for me. I'm good at it, but it's usually the first push, I guess, the first sit down and write is like trying to like get going to run a marathon for me. I find it very difficult to like get started, and then I'm in the headspace and I'm cool until I hit the wall, and then I'm like, okay, whatever, and I drop it. I don't have the self-discipline to keep going with it. So once I realized that, I was like, I guess I'm going to have to be an editor. And I think that was my mindset. And also, I'm a very bossy, know-it-all kind of a person. Ever since I was young, I correct people. Even when they're having a conversation that doesn't include me at all. I do this at work, too. People will be like, I don't think they have avocados here. And I'll be like, they're over there. And they're not talking to me.
Yeah.
They're like half an aisle away. And I'm like, no, sir, you're wrong.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that. And so editing lets me do that. But in a way so that people have to take my advice, because I'm honestly coming out of, like, every time I've corrected someone, it's not, I'm trying to be mean. I'm genuinely trying to help them. So that let me do it. And I love reading more than I like writing. So I think I'll work together. So when you actually asked if I wanted to edit something, I was like, oh, I guess I have to now. It's like, God was like, here you go. You wanted to do this thing, try it. And I was like, okay, don't screw up.
That's fair. You did, and you never have screwed up. But yeah, actually that was that kind of like correcting thing was part of what made me find you. It was with this moment of like, she's always correcting the grammar. Like, she'll correct the grammar of the professor. She'll correct this. Like, and you spoke very well. You speak...
Thanks, Ma, for sending me to speech therapy.
Yeah, you speak very, like, you always pronounce didn't. Like, you even at the end of the sentences. So that was the result of speech therapy?
Yeah, I spoke a lot as a child.
I think of you as a very precocious child. When I think of you as a child, I think of you exactly as you are now, just smaller.
I was a lot less sarcastic as a child.
I don't believe you.
I think it's true. I couldn't say my name.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I had a lot of trouble with R's, which is probably why I had so much trouble in university in German class.
R's are hard words.
R's are hard. I kind of ignored it, and I think Mom and Dad were hoping I would grow out of it until one day it got to the point where the teachers didn't understand me, which is really hard as a person who likes to correct people when the teacher doesn't understand what she's trying to correct.
Yeah.
So I went to speech therapy and I learned all these tricks. I had like the Eliza Doolittle moment in My Fair Lady.
Okay.
Yeah, one day. I kind of remember that. So
you should teach me some of those tricks, because I'm editing my own audio as I'm recording for the audiobooks, and I'm very annoyed at some of my stuff. Like when I'm saying noticed or anything like that, or anything with an ED at the end, my voice drops at the ED. So it's like you don't notice it until you play it back, but like noticed. Like it's the ED part is almost so silent that it might as well not be there on the recording. It's horrible.
That sounds annoying.
It's so annoying. I
mostly just remember the tricks for R's. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because that was my big thing.
The S sounds, like towards.
Yes.
Like, but I'll put, when you listen to it back, it almost sounds like it's toward. Like there'll be a little space there at the end. Oh, it's horrible. There's nothing worse than hearing your own self speak or read.
Oh, yes.
And editing that.
Home videos are the worst.
Videos are the worst.
When you just hear your voice from, like, the room over and you're like, Mother, what are you watching? You run to the next room and you see yourself playing with the dog and being ridiculous. That was a tangent.
That was a tangent, but tangents are fine.
Yeah, this is a tangent. Please take out this entire microwave scene.
Which I did not.
I will be, like, 75 years old and, like at your funeral, I'll be like, here lies Matthew LeDrew. You should have taken out the microwave scene.
Apparently I'm going to live to about 88, according to your timeline.
That's not bad.
That's not bad. I could do worse.
Yeah.
Talk about the microwave scene. This is a thing. This is from Cinders. This is from the first book.
No, it's from the second.
Oh, it's from Sinister Intent. So we'd had a rapport by this point.
We'd had a rapport.
We had a rapport fairly early on because you're an amazing editor.
Oh,
like
thanks.
you're very good at what you do. I find the trouble with editors is that if you put in a ridiculous edit, it undermines the process. It's like if 9 out of 10 things you say are perfectly reasonable, and then there's one where you're actually wrong. Like if you suggest an edit that's incorrect, it undermines the faith in the whole system. You're and you kind of throw the whole thing up and throw your hands up in the air. You're very good at picking your battles and only commenting on the stuff where you're right. So the trust never gets eroded kind of thing.
So the things that I'm uncertain about, I'll actually admit I'm not 100% sure about.
Yeah,
this
you'll
one, but
still
this sounds
comment.
wonky to me.
Yeah, you'll still comment and you'll be like, I'm not sure about this. Look it up. Decide if you want it this way. You're the author. But yes, the microwave scene as an example.
Scene. So in Sinister Intent, you have the plot going. It's puttering along. Like you had the. I think my main problem with it is that things were moving. You had a groove going, and then all of a sudden you had 3 pages about Tom Horton talking about his history with microwaves, and it was just like, it's like you're jogging, and then all of a sudden someone threw a ditch in your way. You just flat on your face. And like I said, if his wife had died at the end of the book, my gosh, it would have been beautiful. Really great character development.
Why do you want to kill Martha Horton?
I don't want to kill Martha Horton. I thought that was the direction you were going in. Turns out you're just ridiculous.
Yes! I wrote 3 pages about how this man hates microwaves.
Because you hate microwaves.
I do. Most of those are actually true stories from my life.
I mean, I can understand hating microwaves. We use the microwave at my house as a bread box. My mother has warned us of the horrors of microwaves. Yes.
I believe it. Mm-hmm. Once I was moving a microwave and I moved the little pad inside, and it turns out when you move it, it doesn't shield correctly. So the next time when I started the microwave in the new house, it sparked uncontrollably. And I, instead of unplugging it, filmed a video of it and put it on my Facebook and asked my friends what I should do. This is before I knew you. And their overwhelming consensus was, turn it off!
And Tom Horton, how does that
Unplug
make
it,
you feel?
throw it away. Yeah. It was more about him. He has an antipathy towards technology.
That you could have done that much shorter.
I absolutely could have.
Yeah.
In fact, some would say that I'd already set it up in the previous book in 2 sentences, so why does it need to be in this book at all?
Yes, but one of the benefits of being the publisher and the author is that you can do what you want.
Yeah, that's true. The microwave scene remains.
You
much
have a
to your
little
chagrin.
license, kind of like in, I think, is it Parks and Recs, where he has a license that says, I do what I want?
I love that scene so much. Just a sheet of paper, I do what I want. How did you get started editing?
But you were the first person who actually sat down and said, hey, you want to edit a book for me?
How did that go?
Well, that went, let's see this lovely story. So there was a nice girl in my class, and she had beautiful hair, and I thought she was pretty cool. But then there was this guy that sat next to her in every class, and he would always interrupt in class, and he would always talk, and sometimes he said good things, sometimes he didn't. But I kind of wanted to be the girl's friend because she seemed pretty cool. And then one day, we always had this class, I always had this empty period, and I used to sit in the classroom, and for some reason, even though I knew the obnoxious guy would be there, and he would do weird doodles on the whiteboard, his little peanut doodles, and one day he started talking about publishing to this girl, and I went, I beg your pardon?
I can't believe you remember the peanut doodle.
I remember a lot, because I couldn't figure out why I would actually spend time in a room with this obnoxious guy. And it was because one day you said something about publishing. And I went, oh, that's why I'm here. And then one day you sat in the seat next to me and you leaned over and you said, hi. And I went, hello. And you said, I'm a poor student and you're a poor student. How would you like to make some money? Which, in hindsight, is a terrible way to set that up, Matthew.
Yeah, true. Yes. Yes.
And I went, and you went, would you like to edit a book for me? And it was like, everything in my life was like, oh, this explains all the pain of the last 3 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I went, okay.
We've become friends.
We have become friends.
We are
It's been
good
a process.
friends. We are good friends.
We are good friends now. It was a process.
It was a process.
And I've never really forgotten my first impression of you. I'm sorry.
I'm not an easy man to like. I think I make a good first impression, like at the table or something like that.
Mm-hmm. You're a better businessman than student. How's that?
Yeah, but in fairness, I kind of despise being a student because I liked it.
Old.
I am, and I think I was a bit too old for the classes. Like, I think there's an odd thing that happens sometimes. I love most of my professors, but there's this thing where I get that it's a lecture, but where it's just unchecked, and they like interruptions if the interruptions agree with them, but not necessarily otherwise.
Their word is not gospel.
Their word is not gospel, and I am not good at... I don't suffer BS well. Mm-hmm. So I am the person who will raise up my hand and go, actually... And I'm shocked that you're not more empathetic to that, because from the story you just told, you're the one who would hold up her hand before she had, back in the day, and say, actually, miss.
I only corrected teachers a couple times, and that was less on what they were saying and more when they did the plot of the book wrong. I had one teacher, I actually still remember her name, and she would get points in the plot wrong, like she mixed up the plot in the book, and I was like, that's really annoying. I think my thing with authority is I've learned it's easier to keep your mouth shut until you have built up trust enough that when you do disagree with them, they agree with you or they'll listen to you.
Yeah, I think what happened was I was too old when I went back to MUN, so in my life I'd already built up, like I'd already had a publishing company, like I'd already built up what I thought was my credibility rating, and I had no time for some of the stuff. So yeah, so you've been editing for 4 years now. You've risen. Wow. You are one of the heads.
Shining star in the firmament. That's a quote from Singing in the Rain. Sorry, guys.
You are you were one of the people behind the From the Rock series, one of the people who are named on the cover, which has become a best-selling series of anthology short fiction. So we did sci-fi from the Rock, fantasy from the Rock, chillers from the Rock, which went bestseller before it came out.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. This time you're about to get the submissions from Dystopia from the Rock. And the next one is Flights from the Rock, which is in the process of collecting submissions now.
I'd better get at least 2 pterodactyl stories and 1 fairy.
I would like 2 pterodactyl stories and 1 fairy. That does sound wonderful.
I think so.
Flights from the Rock is weird. I had an idea for it the other day. I'll run by you afterwards. But like, I had nothing. It's not a genre. It's a aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's
hashtag.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing to put on a writer.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what the first sci-fi on the Rock was too. I mean, the first sci-fi wasn't actually sci-fi, which is why I think we should do another sci-fi.
I do very much want to do an actual sci-fi story.
Because I think the first sci-fi on the Rock was kind of just, we have a good team now, let's try this again.
Yeah.
And it was more the aesthetic of genre.
It was. It was very much in the same way the sci-fi on the Rock convention isn't just for sci-fi, it's for sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. We mimicked that and had an anthology that was for sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. But looking back, I absolutely want to do a straight sci-fi.
We should call it not sci-fi from the Rock, then we should call it science fiction from the Rock, like make it distinct.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually.
Yeah.
How many books are on your computer right now that are waiting to be edited?
2, 3, 4, 5, and then the waiting on Dystopia.
Yes. And yours. Me?
Me? I'm not editing my book.
No, that would be rough.
I mean, I'm constantly doing it because I'm that kind of a writer. I'm the bad kind of a writer. I'm constantly re-editing my work. Don't take tips from me, kids. We have to talk
so
about
what's
something.
next? In addition to everything, that all the work and stuff, you're also doing, you've already gotten an honors degree in English, and actually your honors thesis is currently the only published work with just your name on it.
It's true.
Engen published your thesis, Song of the Mockingjay, because it's incredible and insightful and wonderful.
That was very nice of you to say.
It's very true. It is also, it was for a time the best-selling academic women's fiction in France. For reasons I don't understand, as we did not market it in France. Nor,
so specific.
Nor is it written in the French language.
Not at all.
Not at all. So
I don't know a word of French. That's a lie. I know about 3 words.
I also know only 3 words of French.
Yeah.
You're now getting a master's degree, or hoping to get a master's degree?
I got accepted into the Master's of Business Administration program, and I'm in my first semester.
Excellent.
Yeah.
How's that?
I mean, I decided to kill myself and do statistics and economics first. So, about as someone with an English honors degree, you can imagine how I'm doing with statistics.
Very well, I assume.
I'm, you know what? Statistics is really good at making me realize I should not be proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have a very analytical mind. I would have thought you were game for statistics.
I understand where they're coming from. I sure do. I don't always know how to apply it.
Yep.
Which is about how it goes. I always go, yes, that sounds very good, and then it comes to doing it myself, and I go, wait a second. There's like 5 tests. Which one is right? Yep. So, I think I did well on my last assignment, though, so we'll see. I had like this 3-year gap between my, 2.5, I guess, between my undergraduate and getting into the master's program, because you have to have 2 full years of full-time work before you can apply for the Master's of Business Administration. So while I was working, I was doing some undergraduate courses, hoping to waive some of them for the MBA, which I did. It worked. So I had taken economics before, which is very useful now because I actually know what they're talking about.
Yep.
Lots of demand and supply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Stuff that you can
Right? I'm really
bring
looking...
to your place on the board. You're also a board member
I am.
on Engen. Yeah, stuff that you can take to that.
I really love how you guys put me on the board thinking one thing was going to happen and the other thing happened.
No, not at all. This is what we wanted.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you're slowly taking over.
I'm slowly taking
It's
over.
the slow-moving coup
Yeah, that's me.
that we are absolutely allowing to happen because
Yeah.
you're wonderful.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm very subtle.
What's funny is I've heard this from a few of our authors privately, people that we work with, that when they come on to Engen or when they come to an event or something like that it's very easy to get the impression that you and Ellen and I are three friends who started a publishing company. When it's further from the truth. Because we actually weren't friends at first.
No.
And Ellen and I weren't even friends at first. She was an author that submitted, and we became close afterwards in working together on Infinity. Like it takes a while for people to realize that, oh no, they're just good at what they do, and thankfully became friends through working together.
Yeah, that's actually... I think people would be surprised by how little time we've actually known each other.
Yes, yeah, because we get along very well.
We do.
We get along like we've known each other 20 years, and we have not.
Gosh, I don't even know if I want to know what you were like 20 years ago. Definitely don't want to know what you were like 15 years ago.
15 years ago I was a wreck.
Yeah.
19-year-old Matt.
Ugh.
Ugh.
15 years. I was 11.
Yeah.
I was adorable. Let's face it. I was adorable.
Yes, absolutely.
That was before I had glasses or braces.
I was about to ask if you had glasses.
I didn't.
I'm just picturing you. I picture you coming out of the womb with glasses on.
No, I got glasses and braces within 3 days of each other in the first month of grade 7. Yes, it was as horrible as it sounds.
Yes, but I picture you just kind of coming out, being handed to your mother, and you adjust your glasses.
No, I came out of my mother with a full head of hair, though.
I believe it. With a ponytail and everything?
No. Not that much.
Okay.
I think I did have my first haircut when I was like 3 months old or something, though.
Sure. So you're working. So right now you're finishing up editing the next Segment Delta Archives book.
Yes.
Yep. The sequel to the Sixth Elemental.
And I have John Dobbin's book. The
Starving, currently titled. That's going to come out in early 2019.
I have, I think, Paul Carberry's third.
You do have the third book
Zombies.
in the very well selling Zombies on the Rock book. Yeah.
Whoop, whoop. Dystopia from the Rock.
Dystopia from the Rock is going to be our next bestseller, we hope.
I have Shelley Churchill's book.
Shelley Churchill, yes. Michelle Churchill has written a fantasy children's novel that currently is being worked on 2 fronts. You are editing it, and we have started to get art back from a superstar artist, Ariel Marsh.
Nice!
Yeah, artist from the Super Galactic Space Explorers and Emma Awesome comics.
And then I'll have Flights.
Flights from the Rock, yeah.
I'll have Whatever You Write Next.
Whatever trash I give you, yeah.
I mean, if it's Xander Drew, it probably won't be trash. Okay. That's all that I can think of for now. So that's all I have on my computer right now.
There may be more.
There will likely be more because you seem to collect writers like Pokemon.
I do.
Yeah, you want to catch them all.
I do.
Yeah.
And you're the Eevee. You're the one who can become anything.
The possibilities are endless.
They are.
Yes.
Oh. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing. Do you have any advice for anyone who's looking to get into editing? If there's someone young out there right now who wants to get into editing with another small press company or become a junior editor or whatever, what should you be focusing on in school?
First of all, even though they don't teach it anymore, go after some grammar. If you ask your teacher to teach you grammar, they'll probably do it because they'll be flabbergasted and they won't argue with you. I learned a lot of my grammar from taking a foreign language in university because they have to teach you parts of speech. So I learned all about prepositions and articles from my German class.
Oh, okay.
Because they don't, you just know them in English. You don't understand that's what they are.
Yeah.
So I recommend that. I also recommend writing because even if you're not a very good writer, but understand what it's like, because you have to emphasize with the writer so that you're not just telling them to make it better. You're trying to figure out what they want.
That's smart.
Yeah, so I understand where people are coming from when they're like, this is my baby. I'm like, I know it's your baby, but we have to loosen the blanket.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do some writing, even if it's like really crummy writing, just do a little bit. And also, don't be afraid to make friends and talk to people, because that's how I got into editing. I spoke to the right person. Networking.
Yeah.
If you're interested in being a junior editor at Engen, that means talking to me or Matthew.
That means talking to you at least once.
It means talking to me at least once and giving a good impression.
Yes, absolutely.
Thankfully, I'm a very friendly person, so...
Sure.
My retail face is strong.
Your retail face is strong. Okay, well, thank you for coming on the Bright Project podcast. We hope to have you on again sometime, and thank you very much for all your work.
Thank you for asking me to do some work and for coming on.
No problem, anytime. For all of you, we'll be here again next week at 4:30 Newfoundland time or online at chmr.ca. Please tune in, and we'll talk more about writing culture in Newfoundland.